How to Train Your Dragon is my favourite movie of all time, and I've seen the new live-action remake twice. Here are my thoughts. On my first viewing, I was kind of underwhelmed. I thought it was a good movie, but absolutely nothing compared to the original masterpiece. But then, on my second viewing, I saw it in IMAX 3D. This time around, I felt like it was so close to somehow being even better than the original. And trust me, I know how bold of a statement that is. So, here's both what I think it excelled at, and what it fumbled. Because there is a reason I say it's almost as good as the original. Spoilers ahead. One of the absolute worst changes was the removal of the terrible terror scene. That was such an important scene in the original, as it's what gave Hiccup his plan to defeat the Red Death in the first place. Without that setup, there's nowhere near as much payoff during the final battle, and it kinda comes out of nowhere. One of my favourite changes on the other hand was Snotlout. I honestly think Snotlout was better here than he was in the original. They gave him way more lines, way more jokes, and even some depth by giving his dad, Spitelout, an actual role in the movie, rather than that just being designated to the TV shows like it was in the original. But another thing they ruined is, tragically, Test Drive, the best scene of the original movie. It went from being one of the movie's defining, most memorable moments, to more of a forgettable filler scene. Some smaller things I liked was Toothless and Stoic duking it out in the arena for a bit longer. Toothless's fight with Hookfang in the arena was way longer and way better in this version, and the credits music felt a lot more on theme than the originals. But a change that personally really bothered me was how they handled Toothless. They made him way too much like a puppy dog. He even pants and whimpers like one. For example, during the scene where the Vikings are loading Toothless onto the ship, rather than thrashing around wildly trying to break free, as a wild animal would do in that situation, he was cowering and whimpering, trying to look as adorable and innocent as possible. Another example that I found particularly egregious was in the arena when the Vikings are capturing Toothless. He just sort of lets them capture him, where in the original they were putting as much weight as possible on his head to press his jaw shut so he wouldn't blast them to bits. Here they just lightly put their hand on his head, while he just sits there giving puppy dog eyes, not even trying to break free. But my final major problem was Stoic's redemption. This character arc was completely ruined, all because they removed 2 words.
I'm sorry. For everything.
In the new one, instead of saying, "I'm sorry," he tries to justify himself by saying, "Oh, I was only trying to protect you," showing that he still hasn't let go of his ego, undermining the whole point of that character arc. But despite all the changes I disliked, I still absolutely loved this movie. Some of these changes just held it back from being quite as good as the original, but when the original is a masterpiece, the ever so slightly worse version is still an incredible movie.